As the first quarter of 2023 draws to a close, take a look at the Nigerian Exchange, the NGX, which has been in positive territory so far this year. NGX closed Wednesday up 0.6%, but there are only 9 gainers, and turnover hit a new low for the year. So what lies ahead for stock market investors in Africa's largest economy? Yeah, there are the figures from yesterday. Peter Abe, who's a sales trader, Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers for Nigeria, joins us to discuss further. Peter, good morning. Thanks for joining us. How would you describe the mood of investors so far this year, and I guess maybe even for the month of March, of Q1, I guess, for the NGX?
Thank you for having me. The sentiment in the market is quiet, and investors are taking a cautious stance. This is expected, looking at the build-up to election and all the activities around it. But having that over, I think we are ready for the market to pick up and have a good run.
Yesterday, we saw, I think it was the lowest turnover on the exchange so far, about 2.89 million or so. Any reason for that, or was it just a slow trading day?
Well, if you look at our markets traded, comparing what we had last year, by this time last year to this year, I mean, last year, as at February last year, the market traded up to 193 billion versus this year, 2023, we had 95 billion up to February. So activities are quite low. We could attribute those activities in 2020 to Dangote Cement buyback and Boa Foods listing, but we didn't have all those things early this year. So these are some of the reasons for the lower activity. And we've talked about the election also. That's also sentiment that's slowed down activity. But like I mentioned, things we believe will start to build up as investors see all the elections went well, and the promises of the politicians will be fulfilled in the market.
Okay, well, so you preempted my next question. So elections have come and gone. What would be those catalysts that we could, as we close the first quarter, and move on to Q2, I guess, for investors to look forward to?
Well, we have seen a couple of 2022 financial year numbers and corporate actions from consumers and industrial names, which are quite good. But don't let us forget, banks have not released, most of the banks have not released their corporate actions and 2022 numbers. So we feel this results will spur activities in the remaining days in this quarter and going into the second quarter. And also, where we look at so many activities that have been suspended by many corporates, we feel that this, once they start picking up all these activities, will help to improve activities on the NGX.
All right, you mentioned those upcoming banking financial performance for 2022. We saw banks dominate the gainers list yesterday. Is the financial sector for the NGX still the darling for investors? Okay, Peter, yeah, sorry, I think I lost you for a second there. Are banks, is the financial sector still the darling for investors as far as the NGX is concerned?
Yeah, we cannot rule that out. I mean, banks have been dominating, and when we look at their where they stand in the economy of Nigeria, they've been playing a pivotal role. And don't let us forget the fact that many activities are being driven by the banks. Talk about commercial papers that have been rolling out lately. The banks are behind them. I also don't let us forget, banks have been in the limelight early this year. I would consider the shortage of cash. They have been helping to push the payments. So they will continue to be relevant, and that's why we have been seeing some positions being taken by investors for them. And don't let's forget the numbers that I mentioned earlier. Investors are also taking position ahead of the numbers.
Well, we saw the consumer goods index down, I think about 2 basis points or so yesterday. Year-on-year inflation for February, 21.9. Is that still a headwind for the consumer goods sector?
That's a factor to consider, inflation. And when we look at one of the considerations for the CBN decision on Tuesday for MPC, that was mentioned, but considering many headlines are talking about how most of these consumer names are being affected by the cash crunch or the shortage of cash, we feel with the new policy now for both the hold and the new currency to be in circulation, that will help consumer names, and also this will dovetail, this will also affect their performance on the Nigerian Stock Exchange.
All right. What about your outlook for industrials? For instance, Nigeria's infrastructure needs. Will that drive, cement makers, a Dangote, a BOA, and so on and so forth?
Definitely. Everybody knows about the infrastructural gap the country has, and the industrial names have been trying to play a good role in this. I mean, if you look at some of the projects that have been taken up lately, the roads, the cement are being used to construct some of these roads. So with the new government and every other thing being done, the rail and all those things, we feel the industrial have a very good chance, just like any other industry, and their performance as well will also help to drive activity on NGX.
What about oil and gas? Is there anything to look forward to for the oil and gas sector? For the president-elect, as in his manifesto says, he wants to get production to like 5 million barrels per day. But for investors on the NGX, what are you seeing for the oil and gas sector?
The oil and gas sector index was flat. I think has been flat since the beginning of this week. Well, if we look at what the industry had passed through this year with the shortage of fuel and also the cash shortage, I mean, we could see that as a factor, but like you mentioned, the crude oil production is being pushed up, it's being increased. So we feel going forward, they may be flat for now, but we feel that the performances will be positive going forward with all the changes around oil production increasing and every fuel scarcity also out of the way.
I want to ask you about insurance, Peter. We don't seem to see breakouts in the insurance sector on the NGX. Is it still a case of too many players with a sector that is in need of consolidation?
Well, if you talk about consolidation for anyone following the industry, the insurance industry, we saw a couple of them a year ago or two, and with what had happened, I mean, we have seen many players in the industry trying as well to bring investors as also bring more revenue into that industry. But don't let us forget, beyond the consolidation issue, we have the sentiment from the general economy, I mean, general populace about insurance. I mean, until that myth is removed, I think it will also affect that sector. And also when you consider the fact that more is being done, especially from many companies insurance companies that we have. So we feel going into 2023, there should be an improvement in that industry and also more investors coming into play.
Peter Abe, sales trader, Stanbic IBTC Stockbrokers. Peter, always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for giving us a lay of the land for the NGX. We look forward to the second quarter and rest of the year.